Buongiorno, willkommen, hello, and welcome to episode number 34 of the Wonder of Stuff Vodcast, broadcast live on Google Hangouts on air every Sunday evening. This is the place where you'll find news, information, and commentary on science, engineering, and technology subjects, anything from the past week and beyond, anything else that interests us from inside our tiny little human brains. As always, my name is John Gardner, and also, as always, my colleagues are here to help us on this journey to knowledge. Richard Smith and Ross Davidson. Say hello, chaps.
Hello, chaps.
Jolly good. All tickety-boo over there?
Yeah.
In virtualization land? Good. Mm-hmm. Good, right. Well, we're going to start off with a topic, my topic actually this week, and I've called it the most expensive magnet, but that's not really the crux of the topic. It may actually be the most expensive magnet, but that's a side sort of like area. But I'm going to show you a picture, a gratuitous picture of a magnet. That's just to prove that we all know what one is. Excellent. So, when you're talking about metals, when you're thinking about metals that are magnetic, can you think of some metals that are magnetic?
Iron.
Iron, good one.
Yes.
Jolly good one. Probably the one that we all think of the most and most popular. Have you got one, Ross?
Iron?
Iron. Good one there, Ross.
Cobalt.
I think basically what I'm trying to get at is what the things that we don't think of as with the metals that we don't think of as metallic, as magnetic even. We think of metals as being metallic.
Sodium.
Okay, yeah, all right, fair enough. What I was trying to get at is that I think none of us would think of titanium or gold being magnetic.
No.
They are, in fact, paramagnetic, slightly, very weakly paramagnetic, which means that
if
you put them,
not technically that then is like surely as a weak force everything's slightly magnetic.
No, hang on, no, paramagnetic is different. Paramagnetic is if you put it in a magnetic field, if you apply a magnetic field to it, then it becomes slightly magnetic while it's in that field.
Oh, an electromagnet then.
Yeah. So only in that field. This is one of the reasons, obviously, for instance, titanium, my wedding ring, for instance, is light and is obviously strong, but one of the reasons that they use it for hip replacements and stuff is because it's not magnetic and things are not going to stick to your hips, other than fat, obviously. So. What the thing is that what there's been some research done, and Rice University in Texas in the United States of America, they've come up with a way of combining gold and titanium in a right mixture so that it can become magnetic. And this new material is, funnily enough, called Ti-Au. Which is Ti titanium, Au gold, and it's an anti-ferromagnetic magnet, and it's the strongest of all the magnetism types. There's different types of magnetism. Ferromagnetism is the strongest type, and it's what we would classically known as like an iron magnet is ferro, obviously iron. So, but it's one of the it's the first. I believe it's the first combining of two non-magnetic constituent metals to form this magnetic. The thing about this magnetism is that it only appears at 36 degrees or 36 Kelvin, which is what's that in Celsius?
Minus 240 or something.
Yeah, something like that. So quite cold.
So what, it doesn't work at other temperatures then?
It doesn't. It's not magnetic at other temperatures.
Wow. All right, that's amazing.
Yes, it is amazing. And the idea is they found out it. They found out that if you have a 1-to-1 mix, they've tried all different ratios if you have literally a 1-to-1 mix of gold and titanium, you get this magnetic properties at 36 Kelvin, and it's the only third. It's an itinerant magnetic structure, which means that I think it's something to do with the what is it? Itinerant magnet. It's something to do about a wandering atom or something. I don't understand that bit, but there's only 3 of these types of things where you have constituent metals together that form this ferromagnetism. And the last 2 were like 50 years ago, and the last 2 were a combination of zirconium and zinc, and scandium and indium. There you go. And the reason why it's taken so long to get to this stage is because it's bloody difficult to do, by all accounts. All of the other trials that they've had in the past to try and do this, they've either been chemically unstable or toxic.
Nice. So the idea with this is that it's even though you have to get it really cold, it's a really strong magnet compared to just sort of traditional, like you say, electromagnets or
it's a very strong bond. It's a very strong magnetic bond because it's ferromagnetic. Magnetic. The problem is though, they don't really have a use for it yet. So it's more of a stopping off point for extra research. It's a starting point for like research into phase transitions at absolute zero. So solid, liquid, liquid to gas, quantum phase transitions. Yeah. So they're using it as more of a like, that's new things. We can go down that path now because we didn't know about that. And this is new.
So it's always amazes me how many different sort of properties of material exist at low temperature. You know, when you go down towards that absolute zero, you get all the sort of superfluidity, superconductivity, magnetism, and all these sort of amazing properties of stuff. And I suppose it's one of these things, they're always trying to strive to find these properties at room temperature. Because obviously cooling something down that much is expensive in terms of energy and also impractical in a lot of places. So I suppose, is that sort of 40 degrees Kelvin about the same temperature as the other ones they've discovered, or is it higher? Or?
No, most of the other ones are a lot higher. Right. That's one of the things that they've never been able to do at this temperature. The other way around, some of them it takes more heat than they can generate in a lab.
Right. Okay.
So this is why they were looking at the other half of the temperature spectrum. But it's right. Yes, this is what I was trying to work out before. It's an itinerant ferromagnetic or antiferromagnetic magnetism. So it means that a magnetic moment, this is the definition, a magnetic moment, which is the torque a magnet experiences in an external magnetic field. So it's the magnetic moment that extends influence over more than one atom and gives electrical connectivity as well. So that's what itinerant ferromagnetism.
And anti-ferromagnetism? What does that mean?
Antiferromagnetism is this torque of atoms or molecules is usually related to the spin of electrons. You know about electron spin, and they align in a regular pattern with the neighboring electron spins, but they point in opposite directions.
Right.
So that's anti-ferromagnetism. There you go.
I was going to say when you started that, and Richard came to the point of like, you know, isn't everything magnetic? I immediately thought of, I don't know if you've seen this, but have you seen the experiments they did with frogs in a electromagnetic tube? They levitated frogs using magnetism, just because they could.
And how? What part of the frog is the magnetic bits?
I think basically because they put it in that strong magnetic field, it was the sort of the molecules that made up the frog.
Well, so there's obviously iron in blood and stuff.
Yeah. Well, no, just everything is weakly magnetic, isn't it?
Because it's all to do with electrons and motion and stuff. So it was just to put it in that stronger a field. But I've seen some video of this poor frog down a tube just sort of spinning around with its legs out.
But
I'm confused.
My dad's worked with all sorts of metals with being a welder on the rigs, and he's got two. I'm probably going to get this wrong, but neodymium magnets.
That's right. Yeah,
like his are like N44 or something like that, but they're really like I don't know, 10 inches apart to pull themselves together. They're that strong.
Yeah. They're quite dangerous then, because obviously you can nip yourself with them, but also if you do let them hit together, they can explode.
Yeah,
because they come together with that much power.
Yeah, because they're like quite brittle, and when they smash together, like sharp shards can come off as well. Yeah. But they're that strong that if you leave them in a drawer, and obviously if there's a watch in the drawer, it'll just completely knack it up.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can be bought. I don't know if they're really expensive or they're inexpensive, but I'm sure I remember him saying there this is a while ago, but his knowledge might be out of date as well, but saying that they were the strongest rare earth ones that you could get at the time. Yeah,
they're the ones you always hear about when you hear about that sort of thing. So in terms of this new combination of metals they've discovered, they haven't found or thought of a use for it yet, but it's just a fundamental science they're getting out of it that they think may be useful for something else.
Yeah, I think it's when they started off, they wondered why nobody had come up with anything for so long, and the reason is that it is just it's really complicated to do. It's really hard to get these metals in the right formula to perform at the right temperature, and like they say, there's nothing other than as a starting point to phase transitions that they reckon that this is going to spur off more research down that topic. There's no one thing that they're going that'll solve this, but you know, we've talked about this before, that so often it's the results of that are like, right, okay, we didn't get one panacea of a resolution of some problem. It's just like and this opens an entire new branch of research just by what you know. And the reason why I didn't think about, I thought I wasn't going to put this in tonight, because so often I look for, when I look for a story, I look for here's a big tick at the end of it. This is what and so A has solved B. But I think it's interesting because this could open up an entire new branch of Kelvin.
Almost all science starts like that as well, doesn't it? That's the thing that people don't realise, is that it doesn't come like with a start and end point in one research program normally, does it? I mean, you get those eureka things, but they're extremely rare, aren't they? Here's what might be a daft question. But so basically we're talking about mixtures of alloys of natural metals, basically, to make these magnets. Could we create something entirely artificial that's a yet superior magnet, in the way that we've done with nanotechnology, and we've talked about how you can make stuff much stronger than naturally occurs? Could you make something much more magnetic than naturally occurs then?
I would assume you could, if you could manipulate materials at the, atom by atom level. You could build something which was a pure, because magnetism's got to be one of these things where if you have a nice regular structure, it's got to be more efficient in terms of its magnetism. So I'd assume you could.
But I tell you what, this does open up. It opens up exactly that. It opens up going down the fact that because gold and titanium aren't conventionally magnetic, putting them together makes them magnetic. Also, there's conditions on them, but there's no reason to see that this is not. There aren't other solutions that magnetic, bringing them together, non-magnetic constituent parts become a magnet.
So is that as straightforward as the molecular arrangement is changed in such a way that the two independently have an arrangement that's not very magnetic, but then the combination of the two happens to be something that is magnetic. Then is it as simple as that, or?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, like
Yeah.
John mentioned, there's like the floating electron. You have to have something that can be free in the structure. I think for it to conduct.
You could put like a chili sauce on a cheese sandwich, and you're eating it one day, and it just flies off and sticks to a magnet. And you're like, oh wow, I've found these two things are completely not magnetic. But together, they are.
There's a difference. There's a difference between you and me, Richard. I would be just disappointed that I didn't have a cheese and chili sandwich.
If life was like a Futurama episode, yes. Tell you what, John, I was actually thinking this week your subject was going to be that bacon, vegetable bacon. Did you see that story?
Yeah, well, it's the one that I retweeted it on in Facebook. Oh, retweeted. I retweeted it in Facebook. No, I shared it in Facebook, and interestingly, we got a few people who normally don't like the show stuff. So, but yeah, it's Dulse. It's a seaweed called Dulse, and by sheer accident, I read the story a few times, and I read a little bit further into it because it's one of my little areas of that I like. And basically, it's the scientist who's been investigating seaweeds in general. He's from American University, University of Oregon, I think, and he. By just an off-the-cuff remark said, "Oh yeah, interestingly, if you fry it, it becomes like bacon. It tastes like bacon, and not just a passing taste of bacon. It's a really strong taste of bacon."
That shows you how much he is of a scientist, and how much he's naive about commercial interests. The fact that he passed that by.
Well, no,
that's like the Holy Grail, isn't it? I mean.
Well, yeah, but he was. I think he was being interviewed because I don't think that's even mentioned in his research paper.
It just happens to taste like bacon.
He was being interviewed by the local magazine, or the university magazine. That was it. It was the university newspaper, and it was and he. I think the reporter saw a pot of this stuff boiling on the stove, and he goes, "Oh yeah, interestingly, if you whack it in the frying pan and fry it off, it tastes like bacon and quite a strong taste of bacon as well." And there's obviously university reporters going, "Yes, I've got a story." So that was that. But it's interesting. But I've known certain other seaweeds for a while have very well, the very. I think the main thing that he was trying to propose was that it's very nutrient rich. Lots of seaweeds are incredibly nutrient rich, and obviously that's great. But when you look at seaweed,
it tastes like bacon, even better.
Well, you see, that's the thing. That's the thing. When you look at it, it looks.
Some seaweed's rather nice anyway, though. I like seaweed.
Yeah. Well, it's the old it's supposed to be crispy seaweed on top of Chinese, but it's not really crispy seaweed anymore. It's just cabbage, isn't it, or greens?
Yeah.
But the seaweed that they have in sushi rolls, that's all nice. They have seaweeds in miso soup. I think the Japanese have done a lot more research, or not research, but they've been using seaweed a lot longer. But yeah, so that's interesting. And I even had a comment when I shared it, and it was somebody said, "It's not bacon unless it comes from a pig." I said, "Well, it didn't say it was bacon. It just said it tastes."
And I think this is going to be the annoying and sad thing about it is that whenever you see these things, people are like, "Well, it won't." They've already decided that it won't, and they've already decided that that's more weird and more unnatural than eating a pig. So I try not to read the reactions.
The one disappointing thing is it's a particular type of dulse that they've kind of, I don't know, cross-pollinated or crossbred. I don't know what you do with dulse with seaweed, but it's this new type of dulse. So it's not the standard dulse. Yeah. It's hybridized, and unfortunately, and the thing that was quite disappointing is the university have patented it. So
you would, wouldn't you?
Bacon tasting hybridized seaweed.
Yeah, I mean,
how can you patent taste of seaweed?
Well, no, they'll have patented. It's just like a GM crop, isn't it? They'll have done something.
We should probably do it as a topic because that whole thing of we've alluded to a couple of times about
Monsanto.
Yeah, and patenting crops and stuff like that. One of us.
Well, yeah, let's do it as a topic. I think because it's interesting, and if we're under no illusion that the world is overpopulated and food is going to be a real problem very soon, actually, by all accounts. Certainly in our lifetimes. So yeah, let's have a look at that in a future edition.
Sorry, sidetracked you completely off your mind.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Absolutely. But we'll leave that. We'll leave the new combined non-magnetic constituents and antiferromagnetism and paramagnetism and all those sort of things, and we'll see what happens down at the Kelvin stage in the future. Now, the next topic is it's Ross's, and Ross is going to talk about asteroid mining.
Asteroid mining, yes. So, I don't know if you've read about this. There's an asteroid that's passing by Earth tonight, and it's being reported as being a platinum asteroid and worth $5.4 trillion and all this. But anyway, it's an asteroid named 2011 UW158.
As so often they are.
Exactly. Funny enough, discovered in 2011. And basically, it's passing by Earth tonight, and it's close. It goes around the sun every couple of years or something. They found out. It's passing closest to Earth tonight, and it's going to be 30 times closer to Earth than the closest planet. So it's about 1.5 million miles away, which is still quite far away, but 6 times as far away as the moon. But the interesting thing about it is like I say, they say, oh yeah, it's made of platinum, and if they could mine it, it'd be worth this much money. Now, obviously, if they could mine it, the price of platinum would plummet. So
I was going to say that it would totally dilute the price of
exactly,
and it wouldn't be exotic.
Exactly. And you sort of think the idea, oh yeah, we'll just capture this asteroid and mine it and bring all the precious metal down to Earth is just a bit far-fetched and futuristic.
So is Bruce Willis on the case?
Well, there is actually a company in America called Planetary Resources Incorporated, which was formed in 2010, and their stated goal is to expand Earth's natural resource base. And they are seriously looking into developing techniques for mining asteroids.
A huge magnet.
Yeah, exactly. Made out of titanium and gold.
And gold, that's the one.
Yeah. Which they can find on one of these asteroids. Oh no, hold on.
Catch-22 situation.
Exactly. As with quite a lot of these sort of companies these days, there's financial backing from big people. So the Google bosses, Eric Schmidt and Larry Page, are backing it. Richard Branson is. So there's actually money going in. This is a serious idea. And on Thursday, they actually launched a little vehicle from the space station, which was to sort of test some technologies. I don't know what the technologies were. And I don't know if you heard of that. There's a 1967 space treaty that was done that basically says that no countries can claim a celestial body. So America can't say the moon's theirs or anything like that. But there's nothing saying that a company,
they would like to.
Well, yeah, but there's nothing saying that a private company or a corporation could do that. So technically, any company, if they can technically do it, they could just go, "Yep, that's ours."
So we're going to see the Virgin Galactic logo on on an asteroid near us.
Yeah. So might as well. I've got some pictures. I forgot to show the pictures. Here's a picture of said asteroid. Not the most interesting of pictures, but you get an idea.
It's black.
It
looks a bit like a walnut.
It sounds a bit far-fetched to me.
It does, doesn't it? But like I say, there's big money being invested in this company. So whether or not they are actually going to get to do it, or whether it's just that the money being invested, they think the company's going to do something that's going to make them money. I don't know. I've got another picture here as well, just to show you.
I mean, see if those people you mentioned have actually got skin in the game rather than they've just said in an interview, sounds like a good idea.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, with a lot of these companies, when saying, "Oh, there's investment from Google," and all this sort of thing, is it just the fact that the two individuals who own Google have invested, 100 quid?
Yeah, the billionaires invested a few $100,000.
You don't know. They were getting lots of letters from them. And thought, "Oh, shut them up, give them £5,000." Who knows? So yeah, just to show you this picture here. So this is basically showing you the orbit of this asteroid. So as you see, it goes around the sun every couple of years, I think. And this is its sort of encounter. Now, obviously, it looks quite close, but it's in no danger of a sort of a collision course with Earth or anything like that. But this company, Planetary Resources, have apparently identified dozens of these. They call them X-type asteroids, which are basically prospective targets. So yeah, it's just
for mining targets.
For mining, yeah. And like I say, a lot of sort of materials on Earth are dwindling. Things like hydrogen. I know helium's running out, but they think there's lots of helium deposited on the moon. So there's been a lot of talk about mining that on the moon. And ultimately, I mean, it sounds far-fetched, but if you think of the sort of natural, what you would imagine the future of humanity is going to be, at some point we're going to have to look elsewhere than this planet.
But, to be honest, they really need to get their arses in gear sometime pretty damn soon. It's all right that people say they're all the various organisations saying, we're running out. There's someone on the moon. Well, start planning.
Yeah.
Really seriously start planning. And I'm not talking about back of a fag packet planning. Get some stuff on, because I'm gonna show you this picture, because this is a video that I found about this very action of this.
This is from a film called Armageddon.
No, no, but right, it's much better than that one, because look what happens. Actually, bugger all happens, because there you go. God, right. Look at this. It's you can almost hear the music. Look at how big. Look what's going to happen. Look, Ross. Look. You're gonna get captions coming at you. And here it is. This, in case you've never seen one before, this is what it's going to look like. And it's going to whiz. You're going to get hit by more captions. And there's various stats coming at you.
Oh my god.
And then there you go. Look at that size of that.
Value.
$5.4 trillion.
I mean, I'm sure it's worth a lot, but that value is just so speculative, though, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, yeah, and they don't even know if it is. Is it made of platinum? They don't know. It's one of these things where they're not even sure whether it's a solid object or things just sort of clumped together. Although it is rotating quite fast, which suggests it is solid. And they're just sort of inferring that it's platinum based on the observations they made so far. It'd be a bit of a shame if they spent $4 trillion getting there and realised it was just rock.
The thing is, as well, not just would those materials be more abundant, but they would also all hit the market at roughly the same time, presumably as well, which would have a massive effect on watering the price down. I'd be for it if it genuinely was stuff that we're genuinely short of to feed the world, move technology forward, etc. If it's just so we can make more jewellery, I'm not so sure. I mean, a lot of these materials can be used for both, of course. So,
one of the funniest things I was reading, there was a Reddit thread about this, and people saying, so they're going to try and capture it and all this, and people not realising that's well beyond us at the moment. And someone seriously said, could they not just make it fly into the moon?
Destroy the moon in the process.
That would be a really, really bad idea.
I mean, my magnet idea would work, because what you do is, as it gets close, you just suck it in a bit, and then eventually it just gets caught in the orbit, and then you can go up and just like harvest it at your leisure. That would be fine.
And at some point choose where in the ocean it's going to land.
No, just take bits off it.
And then attach it to the moon elevator.
Yeah.
But it's only got rock left.
Drag it up and park it.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a big blimp that we
Ross,
have
I would
on Earth.
recommend the same approach as I recommended for your the coal mine fire. Just nuke it.
It's just nuke it.
And then the bits that fall to Earth, champion.
Oh dear. Yes, there's obviously nothing else to say about that. Yeah. So tonight, actually, there's a university. No, there's not a university. There's an observatory in the United States called SLU.
Oh yes.
And they are supposed to be doing live broadcast or something, but you've got to sign up. You've got to join up for some reason. I don't like things like that. I don't know why you have to join up. But it's free.
See, they're the ones that have all the footage of the sun, isn't it?
SLU.
So,
yeah, it's basically they're not giving you anything unless you've got your name and your email address. They're not even going to show you an archive or something without that.
2 hours 27 minutes apparently.
Well, that's when it is.
That's when it passes its closest. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Well, I mean, this whole thing of it being worth 5 trillion, I'm sure pretty much, it'll not be particularly special. I don't think. I think this is probably one of these things where they're mentioning how much it's potentially worth just to generate some sort of interest in an event that isn't actually that rare. We get asteroids flying relatively close to us quite often, but usually it's just scientists watching it. Whereas if it's worth $5 trillion, everyone will watch it.
But I suppose it wouldn't matter, because even if it was worth several billion, then it still would prick your interest, wouldn't it? But 5 trillion is like, you could solve the Greek financial crisis.
So could Apple. Did you see that? That fact I mentioned the other week in my random little facts about them making the biggest quarterly profit. I think they're about to announce their yearly profits, which is going to be something along the lines of the Greek bailout, something like 70 billion.
Yeah.
Profit. That is profit.
Is that the biggest corporate profit in history?
It'll be the biggest yearly one, yeah.
Yeah.
But then they do make 40% on every product they sell.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a few things that I don't like about my MacBook. Anyway, no. Before we lose space and before we go on to Richard's topic, did you hear that the crew of the International Space Station have been cowering in the Soyuz escape craft for a while this week when there was some space junk came perilously close to wiping an entire side off the ISS.
They're not having a very good time with them because they're still waiting for their supplies.
Yeah.
And they're having to. Yeah, it's all getting a bit hectic up there.
So they're all in the Soyuz craft, because obviously there's a Soyuz craft attached. Like I think we've said this before, in case all else fails and they have to bail out. And they were in there for a good few hours during the week. Actually, it might even been a day, while this piece of space junk started coming towards, and it would have seriously damaged the system as well. It would have.
Well, this is the thing. Even tiny things, the speed that things travel up there can cause serious damage. And there's only certain sizes they can track. So there's always a bit of a risk that something's going to hit something somewhere. So, yeah.
Well, that's effectively like a speeding bullet, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah.
But it did pass. It did pass, and they've all gone back and they've switched all their systems back on, and they're all right. Although I have to say, it's this is what started happening with the Mir space station, and there was a lot of money poured into it initially, and then towards the end, things were breaking down regularly. And I know for a fact that there are things going wrong quite frequently on there. Some of it gets reported in minor sort of space-based media, but I'm hoping that it doesn't go.
Well, they're not finished. They're not finished building it yet. They've still got bits to add on. So there must still be investment going in there. It's not a complete sort of thing that just needs maintained yet, is it? It's still.
But I think that you're not going to get the countrywide research and development, because I think the last big thing that went on was the Canadian arm, wasn't it?
Right, yeah, with the big robotic arm, yeah.
And now that so obviously there are other.
The Greek module's been cancelled.
The Greek module. Yeah. Was that was the feta in olive module?
Yeah.
Country stereotype. Oh dear. Oh, I've gone West Country for some reason now. I don't know why that is. Yeah. So
the worst Greek accent ever.
Okay. Stavros. No, but with the new countries coming in to the space race, such as India and China, I think India have said that they wanted to be involved in the ISS, but I think China want to build their own. So there you go.
It seems odd that you would want to build your own rather than, the ISS is by far.
But if you're a megalomaniac country,
not if you're Chinese. It's not odd.
Yeah, if you're a megalomaniac country and you have billions of people and basically are currently the heartbeat of the world's economy.
Well, they'll do what they've done in aviation and electronics and almost every other industry that they're in, is rip off someone else basically.
Yeah.
And make it cheaper and maybe slightly better.
Right. Okay. Anyway, now on to yours, Richard, and your topic for this evening is ways the weather will change us.
Yes. So everyone knows that colds go up in winter and allergies go up in summer. So we know that the seasons affect us in that sense. But there's some more unusual ones, and I thought I would present this in a question, true or false question type way, and get you.
One of these true or false questions.
It's always challenging us.
Go on then.
So the first one is. So what I'll do is I'll give you just the sensationalist headline, and you can say true or false, and then I'll go into the more, trivial details of it. So the cold weather can give you a heart attack. True or false?
Well, the NHS always
give you a heart attack.
The NHS always put out cold weather warnings, and one of the things is that they say for elderly people with heart issues to be. So I'm going to say, and I don't understand how. I'm going to say yes, it can.
I'm going to say no, but it can make them more likely.
So. Yes, it's true. All studies seem to show this, and although Ross isn't necessarily wrong because he gave such a guarded answer there, there is a Chinese study that shows an extensive study that deaths from heart disease rise up to 40% during the winter months compared to the spring and summer. So yes, nobody does know if that's a direct cause or what the correlation is there. But yes, that one is effectively true. The more sun, the more suns. True or false? So basically, the more sunshine,
how are you spelling
children?
You mean suns? You are spelling it S-O-N-S.
I'm going to say true on that because it sounds like one of those odd, weird things that don't understand why.
Okay, so you're saying that what he's proposing there in that little phrase there is the warmer it is, the more likely you are having males.
Yeah.
Well, I'll rephrase it then to give it just so you're not going too off track. The more sun there is during that year, the more likely you are to have males.
So the average temperature.
More sunshine.
More sunshine.
It's something to do with vitamin D.
I don't know how. Is it something to do with hormones or I don't know. I'm going to say no.
John saying false.
It makes no difference.
I'm saying yeah.
It's true. So in the northern hemisphere, you're more likely to have a sun during a warmer year than years with particularly cloudy summers. During the Great Smog of London in December 1952.
Ah, yes, I remember it well.
More daughters were born than sons at a time of year when usually more sons would be born than daughters because of the fact of the smog. It's not known why. The effect is tiny, but statistically significant, so it is true.
So I presume with something like that, with a statistic like that, it's quite easy to work out because you just go through all of the bursts and the
you see when it was a particularly sunny year, the ratio of suns goes up, and like I say, during a smog where the sunlight was almost all blocked out, nobody knows why. Like you said, hormones are implicated, sperm count is also implicated, but nobody actually knows.
Interesting.
Rain gives you rheumatism.
This is an old wives' tale.
I'm going to go no on that one as well.
So there's been 9 studies to date on this, and they concluded there was no consistent effect of the weather on the symptoms of rheumatoid.
Why would they do 9 studies? Surely after the first 3 or 4, they'd be like, yeah, it's rubbish. Why do they keep on looking at it?
That's science, isn't it? You keep going. You try and falsify the...
But they've done it. They've falsified it 6 times.
But
is it because there's still scientists that believe it?
I guess what I would say is that there's such strong anecdotes from people saying wet and windy conditions inflame the joints.
Every scientist's grandmother is saying, well, you know, if you go out and it's wet, you'll get rheumatoid arthritis.
At the end of the day, there's plenty of stuff where the scientific consensus is strongly in opposition to public opinion, and yet stuff persists. So,
that's how the Daily Mail work, isn't it?
Exactly. Cosmic rays caused increased heart disease and stroke.
Cosmic rays.
So cosmic rays are around us all the time, though.
Is this measured in astronauts or something?
Well, look, I'm saying succinctly, cosmic rays around us all the time. You didn't say in your phrase that it heightened cosmic rays or anything like that, so I'm going to say no.
Ross?
I'll have to say yes.
It's true.
I thought it would be.
A team from Lithuania recently examined the records of more than 1 million deaths over a 25-year period. They found that mortality from heart disease and stroke seemed to peak during periods of extreme weather event, particularly cosmic ray events. There's been other studies. That one was looking at metadata, and that's what it says. True. Sleeping in a closed room with an electric fan running during a summer month can cause a condition known as fan death.
I've heard of this. I've heard of this before.
Well, you can't answer then, because I think I've told you about this one.
Yeah, I've heard of it from someone.
John, what do you think?
Oh God, it's so preposterous. It's got to be true.
Ross, what are you going to say?
I think there is a thing called fan death, but again, I don't know whether the explanation that I read sounded ludicrous, but I've heard of it. I think it's true, but again, one of those things. I don't know what it is.
It's false. However, it is widely believed in Korea. There is
that's it. Yeah,
that's it. You've told me that before as well, actually.
There's a belief in the medical community and in the public at large, and even in government advisory that have been issued, that if you sleep in a room with a running fan, which you would do, and this is kind of off track a little bit from the seasons affecting you, but of course you'd only use a fan in the summer. So they believe that these deaths go up during the seasons when you need a fan. But there's no scientific evidence whatsoever. There's no even suggestion of how that could be the case.
Yeah.
It's not like you can cause hypothermia because you're just moving the breeze around the room. You're not actually decreasing. If it was aircon, perhaps Legionnaire's disease or pneumonia or whatever. But this is about a fan, which just doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
Air pressure can lead to migraine.
I'm going to have to say true on that one.
Yeah, it sounds plausible. God, I sound like Mythbusters here. Plausible.
It is true. One study got 28 migraine patients to keep a diary of their headache for a whole year. They compared the reports with data from a nearby weather station and found their pain usually coincided with a falling in air pressure. Another study was done as well, which also showed on a much larger population study that sales of painkillers rise as the barometer drops.
See, I mean, I know, obviously, you get migraines, don't you, Richard?
Yeah.
And my wife gets migraines. I don't get migraines, but when the weather's sort of changeable and there is a sort of a noticeable drop in pressure, you can feel it in your head, and I can totally understand how if someone's prone to migraines, that could trigger one, because you can sort of, I don't know what it is in your head that actually would detect it. Would it just be your ears?
Yes, you've got something called a vestibular system in the head, which is the cavity that helps you keep balance.
Yeah.
And that, if it's unbalanced by sudden pressure drops, can lead to dizzy spells, which in some people would cause a migraine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and in fact, I've had a migraine triggered by I was on a flight and it had to descend more rapidly than usual for some reason. I think it had it wasn't an emergency, but it had to descend quicker than it would normally, and that did give me a horrendous migraine. So I know that one's true.
Mm-hmm.
But you with all these things, I suppose you do the science, don't you, to find. That was the last one, by the way. You do the science to find out whether the anecdotes are true. And I suppose with the arthritis ones, they're just so persistent that I guess that's warranted more study. And I guess scientists fall foul of bias as well. Maybe they suffer increased arthritis or feel as though they do, so they then make a beeline to do this study, I guess. But certainly that is what you would speculate is the cause of that one, is its confirmation bias. If you're aware of the myth, then you remember times that the myth is true, and therefore you convince yourself that when it's windy and it's wet, I'm getting more pain, and you're just not remembering that when it happens during the hot days, I suppose.
Excellent. That was quite good. You have to do some more of those, Richard. They're quite good.
It's quite hard to come up with a list with a balance of true and false ones, where the false ones don't sound absolutely preposterous. But there is sometimes stuff that's stranger than fiction, isn't there? Which is why I'm always left puzzled why people want so much fiction when there's so many things that are true about the physical world that are truly bizarre.
I've got a puzzle for you. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but I saw a video about this week, which I thought was quite funny. Completely off topic, but you might like this. There's 30 cows in the field, 28 chicken. How many didn't?
There's 30 cows in the field, 28 chicken. How many didn't?
Yeah.
I don't even know if that makes coherent sense.
Makes perfect sense.
28 chicken. How many didn't?
But is that not something like one of those riddles where the answer is
No, it's a perfectly sensible question with a reasonable answer.
I don't know how the two things are relating together.
30 cows in the field, 28 chicken. How many didn't?
30. 2. 28. Just use all the variances of the number.
It's a simple question.
Put us out of our misery.
No. You've got answer.
You're going to just leave us hanging like this?
All right. 1, 2,
No.
3,
No.
10.
Yes.
Right.
30 cows, 28 chicken. How many didn't?
10.
It was 30 cows,
28 chicken.
28 chicken. How many didn't eat
28 chicken. Oh, Jesus Christ, that's terrible. 28 chicken, so 10 didn't eat chicken. Oh my God.
Okay, that's.
You said that was good. That was what threw me off. I was looking for something that was good, and that wasn't good. So you deceived us.
With that appalling
Bombshell.
On that bombshell in the world.
Jeremy Clarkson's got a new job.
Yes. Anyway, yeah. So this is the end of episode 34 of the Wondrous Stuff. As always, please email us at wondrousstuff@gmail.com or come to our blog and leave us feedback that way as wondrousstuff.blogspot.com. We'll be here next week, and to play out this week, we'll have the very first presentation of our new graphics for the intro, which I'm going to play on the outro, because I still haven't got full copyright control on them at the moment. So until next week, everybody, say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Here we go.